Today, we're going to be going over the new and reprised weapons that are coming with the launch of Revenant Act 1 next week. We got some hands-on time with some exotics, including the seasonal weapon and the armor. So if you want to check out our other videos, links to those will be down below. Today, though, is going to cover some of the weapons we got to see, including the new traits on them and their different trait combinations. Now, do keep in mind, this isn't everything, but it is a fair amount, and some of these are looking absolutely juiced. Now, before we start diving into each one of these weapons individually, we need to first take a look at our brand new origin trait that will be on all of these seasonal weapons, that being Dark Ether Reaper. It reads that kills with this weapon periodically spawn Dark Ether charges. Charges can be detonated early with weapon fire or by coming into contact with them. Doing so refills the weapon from reserves. Now, I didn't get to test these extensively, by no means, so I don't have the exact number of how many kills are needed, but as soon as the new episode drops, we'll be deep diving into everything that you're about to see. But from what I gathered, at least from my experience, it seems to be somewhere between 4 to 5 kills. At the same time, I kind of found myself scratching my head a few times because it almost looked like they would spawn from just RNG. Now, once you get a Dark Ether charge to spawn, you'll then see an orb just floating in the air, which will last for around 6 seconds. And you can either shoot it or you can just come into contact with it. And if you do either of those, it will explode. At the same time, it will refill your magazine from reserves. Now, the interesting thing here is at least on a primary weapon, it not only refills our magazine, but it also overflows it by about 50%. So this is a very strong origin trait. For instance, here on my hand cannon, which holds 8 shots, once I shoot the orb, I go from 2 shots all the way up to 12. Now, I didn't really spend much time with it on special weapons, so I'm curious to know if it actually overflows the magazine there as well. Now, as for the explosion, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it does any damage to enemies. This drag here was very close to it, and there was no damage numbers that popped up. However, it can do self-damage, as I have a clip here where I come into contact with it and it then procs the new Titan exotic Blast Wave Striders. Overall though, guys, it seems to be a pretty interesting origin trait, and we'll be looking at it more deeply when the episode launches. Now let's go over our 5 new seasonal weapons that are launching with Revenant. First up, we have Vantage Point. This is an arc adaptive frame pulse rifle, putting into that 390 round per minute archetype. Now I know these are not necessarily the most popular archetypes inside of Crucible, but they are pretty good inside of PvE. Their DPS is just under that of our heavy 2-round burst pulse rifles. Now, in terms of perks, in column 3, we have Deconstruct, To the Pain, Eddy Current, Keep Away, Stats for All, and also 2 brand new perks. One is called Lone Wolf, and the other is called Closing Time. Now, for Lone Wolf, it reads, slightly improves aim assist, aim down sight speed, and airborne effectiveness, increases these effects when there are no nearby allies. And this actually kind of reminds me of the Festival of the Lost origin trait, which gives faster ADS and movement speed when no allies are nearby, except here, we get slightly increased ADS speed and flat out just aim assist and airborne effectiveness just for using the perk. These effects only increase with no nearby allies. Now this perk seems like it could be a pretty nice perk in PvP, especially in things like Rumble, or maybe if you're more of a lone wolf, perhaps you like to go for that flank, then by all means, here you go. Now the other new perk in column 3 is called Closing Time. It reads that it improves range, accuracy, and handling as the magazine gets lower. Another perk that's tailored more toward PvP, and we have multiple perks in the game that actually improves the weapon as you get deeper in the map, from under pressure to high impact reserves. And the way these perks work is they get stronger the deeper you go, like all the way to the final round. And if they're a good enough perk, they're actually worth priming to, actually literally shooting your weapon down to the bottom half of your mag to take advantage of this trait. We'll be looking at both of these though next week. Now our 4th column perks that are on this weapon include One for All, High Impact Reserves, which literally pairs nicely there with Closing Time, Desperado, Focus Fury, Swashbuckler, Head Seeker, and another new perk called Jolting Feedback. Now this perk is interesting, guys. Quote, dealing repeated damage with this weapon inflicts jolt. While amplified, jolt is applied faster. Now I needed to play with the enhanced version of this, which states that dealing repeated damage with this weapon inflicts jolt at an increased rate. Now this perk is essentially Volt Shots. However, you just need to deal repeated damage. No kill required. So while Volt Shot is really good for ad clearing, this will be more useful for those tankier targets. It also seems like it doesn't need to be solely on a single target. As with a group of about 7 enemies here, it seems to proc on the 6th enemy and then proceed to spread jolt to the final ad that was in this group. So for strictly ad clear, I actually think Volt Shot is going to be better. But when coming across thicker targets, most notably this orange bar abomination, I was able to proc this perk in about 5 bursts, which then applied jolt to him and then spread to the nearby enemies. What this perk really says is, hey, find the thickest target on the battlefield, blow your load into them, and just keep going, as all the ads that get close to them will be getting tagged up. I very much look forward to seeing this weapon next week, comparing this perk directly to Bolt Shots. But overall, this pulsar rifle does seem like it's going to be pretty good in both PvE and even for PvP. For PvE, you got Eddy Current, you got Stats for All, you got Deconstruct in that column 3. You can pair it with things like Jolting Feedback, One for All, or even Swashbuckler. And then for PvP, you got To the Pain, Lone Wolf, Closing Time, Keep Away, paired with things like Head Seeker or even Desperado, which in the case of Desperado, we don't have many pulse rifles that have that trait. The only one I could think of off the top of my head is our Gambit pulse rifle yesteryear. So again, some unique things that are present here on Vantage points. Next, we have Sovereignty. This is a void adaptive sniper rifle. In column 3, we have No Distractions, Demolitionist, Steady Hands, Explosive Payload, Discord, Dragonfly, and Enlightened Action. In our 4th column, we have Adrenaline Junkie, Firing Line, Harmony, Desperate Measures, Precision Instrument, Box Breathing, and another new perk called Withering Gaze. Now, Withering Gaze reads, aiming this weapon for a short period without firing grants the ability to apply Void Weaken to the next target that you damage. Timer resets after firing or exiting zone. Guys, this is pretty much free Weaken on demand. Like literally, aim down sights, boom. Which in my opinion is incredibly valuable. Now, in terms of other perks, you also have Demolitionist, Discord, Enlightened Action, Explosive Payload, which let me just say, it's good to see Explosive Payload in the 3rd column. It's a free damage perk, which means we can double stack, baby. And if you want to go more traditional routes, in column 4, we have things like Firing Line, Precision Instrument, Box Breathing, which is, But I do believe the utility of Withering Gaze is going to be worth a look. Next up, we have a Stasis Aggressive Frame Hand Cannon, Exuviae. Sexy! In column 3, we have To the Pain, Encore, Lone Wolf, Stats for All, Keep Away, Triple Tap, and Rimestealer. Now, this is a new addition to our stasis perks, and it reads, destroying a stasis crystal or defeating a frozen enemy with this weapon grants you Frost Armor. Now, let me just say, for this particular season, this one right here is going to be nasty. Then for column 4, we have Desperate Measures, Frenzy, Redirection, Explosive Payload, One for All, Headstone, and Precision Instruments. Now, I think the obvious go-to combination, at least inside of PvE, is probably going to be Rimestealer and Headstone. And at least here on paper, it looks like it's going to beautifully synergize. For my PvP players, you've got things like To the Pain, Lone Wolf, hell, even Keep Away or Explosive Payload. Combine that with Precision Instruments. Definitely something we're going to be looking at for both PvE and for PvP. Now, our next weapon is Liturgy. This is a Stasis Double Fire Grenade Launcher, which makes it only the 3rd Double Fire GL we have so far. But what makes this one unique is that it's the only one in the kinetic slot. In column 3, we have Slimeways, Surplus, Rimestealer, Strategist, Perpetual Motion, Quick Draw, and Envious Arsenal. Now, Envious Arsenal states that dealing damage with both other weapons before readying this weapon refills it from reserves. So kind of like bait and switch, except it just reloads your weapon. Not really sure if this is going to be the best pick for special weapons, but it definitely could be something you could utilize alongside your heavy, along with bait and switch. Then for our 4th column, we have Desperate Measures, One for All, Chill Clip, Harmony, Lead from Gold, Swashbuckler, and Chain Reaction. Now, I'm sure most will probably want that Rimestealer plus Chill Clip combo, and especially considering so much is focused around stasis synergy, this is probably going to be the combo I'm going to go for. Now, you also have Slimeways. This allows you to bypass reload, but keep in mind, Slimeways does have a cooldown, unlike Slide Shot. I guess they both have cooldowns, but one's longer than the other. Slimeways substantially longer than Slide Shot. Now, Lead from Gold is also a pretty good perk in terms of ammo economy. You also got Chain Reaction in that 4th column. That makes it pretty unique, as this is the first Stasis Special Grenade Launcher with Chain Reaction, but overall, a pretty interesting weapon. Now, last on our list for Revenant weapons launching in Act 1, we have Insurmountable, a Void Precision Frame Sidearm, which is pretty interesting considering we don't get many precision sidearms really ever. Now, for our perks in column 3, we have Attrition Orbs, Demolitionist, Air Trigger, Lone Wolf, Repulsor Brace, To the Pain, and Threat Detector. For our 4th column, we have One for All, Surrounded, Rampage, Closing Time, Harmony, Destabilizing Rounds, and Desperate Measures. Now, looking at this sidearm, it looks to be like the Void version of Heliocentric, which, as you know, Heliocentric is one of the best sidearms inside of PvE. You've got that Hill Clip, Incandescent Roll, which is so good. On Insurmountable, though, we have that Repulsor Brace Destabilizing Round Roll, which is going to be good considering we're also getting Void Artifact mods. Now, if you didn't want to go that route, you also have good options like Demolitionist, Attrition Orbs, which is not bad, One for All, and Surrounded as well. For PvP, you've got Air Trigger and Lone Wolf and To the Pain. Combine that with Closing Time. Some pretty good options here. Now, the next 3 weapons we got to go over are our reprised Season of the Splicer weapons. That's right, fellas. They're coming back. And in my opinion, these were some of the best seasonal weapons ever. And it's about about damn time. Now, the origin trait that's found on these weapons is called Splicer Surge. It reads that reloading this weapon after dealing damage grants the weapon a stacking reload speed and a handling bonus until stowed. Now, pretty solid perk, especially in PvE, since anything that increases your reload speed is always great to have. Now, I'm not really sure how many of these are returning. I just got to look at 3 of them so far. First up, we've got Ignition Code, though. This is our kinetic lightweight grenade launcher. For our perks in column 3, we have Lead from Gold, Steady Hands, Permeability, Slide Shot, Ambitious Assassin, and Unrelenting. In our 4th column, we have Vorpal Weapon, High Ground, Harmony, Reverberation, Strategist, and Frenzy. Now, back in the day, this was a very sought after grenade launcher because it was, and actually still is, the only grenade launcher to roll with Slide Shot. Yes, we've had a few with Slimeways, but only Ignition Code has Slide Shots, which means you'll be able to slide back to back, reloading that shot over and over. And you compare it with things like Vorpal, Frenzy, hell, even High Ground. Now, while Slide Shot is probably going to be the best perk in column 3, you also have some pretty good other options. Lead from Gold is good. Ambitious Assassin is also good. So if you hate sliding, well, there you go. Now, next up, we have one of my favorite auto rifles in the game, Chroma Rush. This is a kinetic rapid fire frame, and it was probably this auto rifle that made me fall in love with this archetype. I will say there were a few others like Balagadin that definitely sold me, but Chroma Rush was the one that pulled many of us deep into the rapid fire frame archetype. In column 3, we have To the Pain, Heating Up, Subsistence, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Killing Wind, and Tunnel Vision. In our 4th column, we have Kill Clip, Frenzy, Rampage, Target Lock, Kinetic Tremors, and Tap the Trigger. And this thing is absolutely juiced for perks, guys. You're going to be able to enhance everything here. For PvP, you've got To the Pain, Heating Up, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Tonal Vision, Kill and Win. Pretty much just pick your favorite. And then column 4, you have Kill Clip, Rampage, Target Lock. You can even go consistency here and go with Tap the Trigger. And then for PvE, that Subsistence Kinetic Tremor roll is screaming at me. And this was pretty unique because it's going to be the first rapid fire auto rifle to get kinetic tremors. Now, last but not least, is a shotgun that I know many of you love, Sojourner's Tale. Now, I never landed the God roll for this one, but I always wanted to. Inside of PvP, it was one of the most consistent slug shotguns in the game. In column 3, we have Hill Clip, Auto-Loading Holster, Quick Draw, Moving Target, Discord, and Offhand Strike. In our 4th column, we have Air Trigger, Incandescent, Precision Instrument, Harmony, Swashbuckler, and Opening Shot. Now, immediately I'm looking at that Hill Clip Incandescent roll. The synergy there is just too beautiful. Not really something I would utilize on a slug shotgun, but who knows? Maybe it's pretty good. But what interests me the most here is Precision Instrument. This has never been present on a slug shotgun before. You could combine this with auto-loading holster, you could swap back and forth, literally land your shots, proc precision instruments, and continue that damage rotation. For my PvP players though, that quick draw or moving target roll combined with opening shots is going to eat people. I know a lot of people are very much committed to normal shotguns, but a good slug shotgun user catches so many people off guard. And Sojourner's Tale here is one of the best ones to do it. So guys, that's it. Those are our Revenant Act 1 weapons. Their perks, their origin traits, the new traits. Again, this is nowhere near close to all the weapons that are going to be launching, especially over the entire act. These are just the weapons we could share with all of you. We still got a new dungeon, world drops, ritual weapons to go over, new offerings for things like Vanguard, Nightfalls, Crucible Trials, Gambit, etc. And as soon as we get our hands on all of those guys, we'll be discussing the God rolls for them as well. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.